Now at 6, a holiday weekend on the water turns tragic after a woman is killed in a boating crash. What we know so far about what's being called a deadly accident. Plus, a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the state of Oregon. What court papers claim DHS knew that led to the abuse of 2 young children. But first, long hours of negotiations between teachers, union leaders, and school districts. A look at the districts that will be ready to welcome students tomorrow and those still trying to come to an agreement.
First, live, local. The 6 o'clock news starts now on Fox 12 Oregon.
Good evening and welcome to the 6 o'clock news. I'm Pete Ferryman. Nora has the night off. It's been a weekend of negotiations between teachers and school districts in Southwest Washington, and some have reached agreements. These schools are opening tomorrow. At Hawkinson, teachers have ratified their new contract. In Camas, a tentative agreement has been reached, and teachers are voting on it tonight. And in Ridgefield, teachers have just ratified their new contract. Several other districts, however, remain closed tomorrow. In Vancouver, a tentative agreement has been reached, but teachers won't vote on it until tomorrow. Evergreen, Longview, Battleground, and Washougal have all canceled classes as the negotiations continue. Well, after negotiating until 1 o'clock in the morning, teachers in the Evergreen School District are back at the table today, but so far, still no deal in place. Fox 12's Simon Gutierrez is outside Educational Service District 112, where those negotiations are happening.
The district has already canceled classes for tomorrow, even though a deal could still potentially be reached here tonight. For parents in the Evergreen District, it was another day of uncertainty, but for one family, it was another day on the picket lines.
Sidewalk, please.
For the Thielen family, Labor Day meant a 7th day of labor.
The first couple days, we sat back and we're like, the teachers are going to work this out. And then they weren't.
And so Jen Thielen and her kids joined the picket line.
We just felt like as parents, we have to stand up because, yes, our kids aren't in school. Yes, we want them in school, but we support our teachers.
Teachers who are still negotiating with the Evergreen School District for higher pay, when several other districts in Southwest Washington have already reached agreements.
You know, I think we're getting closer. The district and EEA issued a joint agreement that they were working hard. They worked hard last night until, 1 a.m. this morning, and they're continuing to work hard today. And so I think it's a really positive sign.
After more than 1,000 people showed up in support of Evergreen teachers on Friday, today's contingent outside the negotiations was small but dedicated.
Can't think of anything else I'd rather be doing right now.
But Thielen says it's worth the time and effort to show their support.
These teachers are honest, good people, and at the end of the day, who am I going to side with? I trust teachers. We trust our teachers.
According to the district, its last contract offered to teachers, last public offer, included a starting salary of just over $50,000 for teachers coming right out of college, a little more, but closer to $80,000 for more experienced teachers. We'll be keeping an eye on negotiations here tonight, and we'll have an update for you if we hear anything. Reporting in Vancouver, Simon Gutierrez, Fox 12 Oregon.
Stay with Fox 12 as we continue to follow the negotiations and the school cancellations. In between newscasts, you can get updates on our website at kptv.com. There was a deadly accident on the Columbia River this holiday weekend. A woman was killed in a boating crash in Camas last night. She's been identified as 41-year-old Natalia Zelenko, who was riding in the boat with her husband. Fox 12's Marilyn Deutsch has the latest from investigators.
Camas police say that 3 people were involved in this deadly boating accident. The 2 boat operators and a passenger in one of the boats. She was the woman who died. 2 motorboats, both approximately the same size, crashed into one another about 7:30 last night, right below the Camas Slough Bridge. The deadly crash is still being investigated, but preliminary information suggests that neither speed nor alcohol was involved, or that either boat operator was doing anything reckless. Authorities believe the 2 boaters saw each other but just miscommunicated or misunderstood each other's intentions. The passenger died at the scene. One of the boat operators was taken to the hospital in critical condition and the other has minor injuries. Police say both of the boat operators were able to talk to them, and they are both cooperating with the investigation. At the port of Kaminista-Washougal this morning, we watched as boaters got ready for their Labor Day on the Columbia. This is just east of where Sunday night's tragic accident happened. A reminder for holiday boaters to make safety their #1 priority on the water.
One thing, be observant of the water. I mean, everybody around me, always heads up on the upper river. And everybody in the boat is aware of what's going on in the water at all times. And we try to keep clear of boats, large boats, tugs, and then staying in the proper river channels.
Gabe Atkinson here today with his young son Marcus.
Well, we always have the life jacket on, right? We go pretty slow. We don't have as big of a boat as a lot of other folks, so we don't go to a lot of the places that are a lot more current and fast. We kind of just stay in the slower water, huh?
I don't play like really far over the edge.
Again, Kamis police say they do not believe alcohol was involved in this deadly boating accident. But as a matter of precaution, they will do blood tests on the 2 boat operators. In Kamis, Marilyn Deutsch, Fox 12 Oregon.
A woman was hit and killed by a train in Kelso this afternoon. Police say she was crossing the tracks near Division and North Pacific Avenue at about 2:30. Investigators say the woman was not in a crossing area and the crash appears to have been an accident. Police have not released any further details at this time. Just into the newsroom, 2 people have been taken to the hospital after a stabbing in Battleground. Police say it happened at or near the Battleground Walmart, and it appears both the suspect and victim know each other. Police say there's no threat to the public, and both the suspect and victim were taken to the hospital. The extent of their injuries is not known at this time. Authorities say a driver tried to ram his truck into a small sports car, pushing it down a residential street before speeding away. The alleged victim says it was a case of road rage, and it was all caught on camera. Fox 12's Marja Martinez joins us now live from Northeast Portland with that dramatic video. Marja?
Pete, the hit and run happened here on Buffalo near MLK, and police say the driver, the suspect in that crash, actually used his truck to ram into another man's car and push it all the way down this block to that stop sign you see right there. Tonight, the victim hopes folks at home will take a close look at his surveillance footage so police can find their suspect. Frank Williams was getting home from the gym Sunday morning when he stopped in front of his house to reverse into his driveway. But a man in a silver GMC truck behind him didn't stop. In this home surveillance video, you can see he presses forward, driving right into Williams' silver Boxster S-Series. Williams said he eventually put his car into first gear and drove it out of the way, following the driver of the truck. He says when he caught up to him,
We had a small exchange of words. Basically, he said that, me stopping in the street to back up into my driveway was illegal and that I was at fault and that we should stop and pull over and wait for the police. And I'm like, well, okay, I don't see how I did anything wrong. So yes, absolutely, I'll stop, wait for the police. And then he just drives off.
before the suspect drove off, Williams snapped this picture. According to police, the suspect is a white man in his 40s with an untrimmed beard. And in the photo, you can see he has a tattoo on his left arm. Williams says he's shocked his car didn't have more damage, and he just wants that hit-and-run driver to turn himself in before anything like this happens to someone else. Police are now looking for the man in that picture that we showed you. If you recognize him or the truck that he was driving, you're asked to give them a phone call. In Northeast Portland, Marja Martinez, Fox 12 Oregon.
All right, Marja, thanks. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson now. And the unofficial ending of summer now,
Kind
right?
of traditional, I suppose,
Yeah.
Labor Day weekend, but beautiful, huh?
Oh, and a fantastic weekend.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
With temperatures in the upper 70s, it was about as average as it gets here for the first few days of September. Mount Hood all clear. It's clear at the coast. It's clear, of course, here in the city. Now, it was a little bit different this morning. I had a relative at home, and she said, I thought it was going to be all sunny today. That was before I even had my morning coffee. She was harassing me about that. Big no-no there. But we had low clouds come in from the coastline. And look how they formed right over Clark County, most of the metro area, and then down into the North Valley, almost to Salem. That was this morning. Look how they just kind of melted away during the day, though, as the afternoon heating took hold. This afternoon, everybody totally clear. You just see the smoke blowing from a fire there between Eugene and Bend. All right, so we made it to 79 here in Portland. Tonight, more of the same, just mainly clear skies, a little cooler in some spots, some 40s, but coming up, we're going to heat things up a few degrees. Looks like we'll be up in the 80s. We'll let you know how close we get to 90 in this first week of September in a few minutes.
Mark, thanks. The guardian for 2 young girls is suing the state of Oregon, claiming the Department of Human Services is negligent after it placed a teen with a history of sexual misconduct in the same home as the girls. Fox 12's Brenna Kelly has been poring over these court documents today. And Brenna, what can you tell us?
Well, Pete, it's a $5 million lawsuit filed in Multnomah County Friday, and it claims the state knew the teen had a history of sexual abuse. According to these documents, the victims are developmentally disabled and had been abused before. The lawsuit states DHS put the boy, who was 13 at the time, in the same home as the pair of young 5- and 7-year-old sisters. According to documents, there were already 6 foster children, including the girls, in the home at the time. And despite concern that the foster parent wouldn't be able to supervise all of those children, DHS did eventually approve the boys' placement. According to documents, DHS didn't supervise the teenage boy, even though they knew about his history of physically and sexually abusing younger children. It also claims the state did not listen to the foster parent's warnings about his behavior at home and at school. For 2 months, documents say the boy repeatedly sexually abused both girls, raping one of them and threatening one of them to not tell anyone. Documents show the guardian is suing for $50,000 for each girl for future counseling, as well as $2.5 million for each girl for other losses after the lawsuit claims they suffered psychological trauma, isolation, and nightmares, just to name a few. We did reach out to the DHS spokesperson. She said they couldn't comment because of pending litigation. We also reached out to the guardian for the girls and his attorney. Neither could be reached for comment immediately today. Reporting in studio tonight, Brenna Kelly, Fox 12 Oregon.
The 6 o'clock news is just getting started.
No time for Labor Day relaxation on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers are getting ready to tackle a very busy week, from Supreme Court judge confirmation hearings to Twitter politics. Plus, empty beaches in Florida as Tropical Storm Gordon dumps several inches of rain. We're tracking its path as it continues to flood neighborhoods.
Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialist. A VA loan is a benefit you deserve. Why not use it? Oswego Mortgage makes it easy. Just bring us your discharge papers and let us help you through the process. Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialists.
Many lawmakers spent the weekend saying their final goodbyes to the late Senator John McCain, and now they're gearing up for a very busy week ahead on Capitol Hill. On the agenda, confirmation hearings for President Trump's pick for the U.S. Supreme Court. There was no time for Labor Day relaxation to carry over into Tuesday this week in Washington. Tuesday begins the confirmation hearings for Judge Brett Kavanaugh, expected to last days in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, with implications for both parties.
We need that opportunity to ask the questions. And if we just walked out, it would simply be one side asking the questions. So I don't think that's the way you examine a nominee and get the facts out.
With a successful confirmation, Kavanaugh would give conservatives a firm majority on the Supreme Court.
If you're looking to a Republican president to pick a qualified conservative, he would be on the top of anyone's list, including not just Donald Trump.
And as the confirmation hearings continue, the tech sector hits Capitol Hill Wednesday.
There's a lot of emphasis today on politics Twitter, and politics Twitter tends to be pretty divisive.
Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, will appear alongside Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook, as they testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee. The topics will include state-sponsored misinformation, bias, and harassment on their platforms. Then, that afternoon, Dorsey will testify in front of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, specifically on the issues that include freedom of expression and broad editorial discretion. And in the midst of it all, Congress will only have 11 workdays with both chambers in session to pass a spending bill and avoid a government shutdown. Will former Vice President Joe Biden throw his hat into the ring for the 2020 presidential race? Well, Biden is not ruling it out just yet. According to the Associated Press, friends and advisors of the former VP say he has given himself until January to decide whether he would run for president. Biden says he's convinced that he can beat President Donald Trump and is maintaining a network of supporters in key states. In a poll taken last month, the 75-year-old statesman was the #1 choice for the Democratic ticket in 2020 with 32%, beating out former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Miami Beach, Florida was looking empty on this Labor Day as Tropical Storm Gordon brought several inches of rain and flooding. Gordon formed in the upper Keys early this morning, bringing heavy rain and strong winds up to 45 miles per hour across Florida. Both locals and tourists were caught in the tropical storm's path.
What is it, hurricane season? So we're on holiday, it doesn't matter.
We weren't paying attention to the weather either. Watching more football than weather. We're heading home, gotta go take it nice and slow.
The roads are really flooded, so you have to drive super slow, but it's really bad.
Gordon is moving farther into the Gulf of Mexico, though forecasters anticipate the storm to hit somewhere around the Mississippi-Louisiana border, last word, by late Tuesday. Towns in Louisiana already hunkering down, making sandbags in preparation. Of course, Mark Nelson is here. He's been tracking the storm. You've got the most up-to-date information.
Yeah, all this year, all the action has been out in the Pacific.
Yeah.
You know, but the Atlantic has been dead, and it still doesn't look too crazy coming up. But Gordo has now moved. He's moving very quickly for a tropical cyclone. Typically, these things, they move just maybe 10, 8, 5 miles per hour. But this one is trucking along almost 20 miles per hour. So it's already well off the Florida coast, moving west of Tampa. It's 95 miles straight west of Fort Myers. Notice the winds are 60. To be a hurricane, it needs to reach 74 miles per hour. So it's a tropical storm for now. Hurricane Center forecast takes it straight to the northwest, and in just a little over 24 hours, it has arrived on the Mississippi or Alabama coastline. Maybe New Orleans is within what we call the cone of error. The Hurricane Center, they don't like having a line down the middle. They say, hey, it's going to be somewhere within this cone, which gives you a better idea. Between Mobile and New Orleans is where it should make landfall. The red areas are under a hurricane warning, so keep that in mind. All right, we've got clear skies right now. Tomorrow, what changes? It'll be a little bit warmer, but otherwise great weather tomorrow. 52 for the school bus stop, and then that's in the morning. I don't think we'll see the low clouds like we had this morning. Back here in Portland, we look for high or afternoon temp 2 to 3 p.m. already in the upper 70s, and we end up in the lower 80s. So we've got 3 days coming up where it's going to be warmer, sunny, real low humidity as well. Now, fire danger goes up because we get a drier easterly wind through the gorge tomorrow, a little bit of an easterly drift off the Cascades, and a pretty dry north wind here in the valley. With the low humidity, which makes it feel great outside, even though it'll be in the 80s, that gives you pretty high fire danger. And of course, vegetation just about the driest of the year right now. We could use a big soaking. You'll notice we have showers in our 7-day forecast, but I think that's later Friday and Saturday, and right now I still don't see a big soaking. Although anything would be good news, even if we just got 1/10 of an inch of rain, that would wet things down and really lower the fire danger. And typically once we get into September, if we can get some light rains here and there, things start looking better fire danger-wise. So tonight, mainly clear skies, upper 40s, low 50s, west of the Cascades, all 40s, east side. We had this little disturbance move by to the north. That pulled in the ocean air. That's why we had the low clouds this morning, but kind of high pressure kind of pushing back in over us. That'll keep this system up to the north. And that's going to kind of sit over us for 3 days. So not a whole lot changes until we get to Friday. Cloud and rain forecast, you can see even at the coastline, a real minimum of morning clouds. This is at, 7 a.m. in the afternoon. Nothing's going on. So pretty easy forecasting for me. We may get a little bit of fire smoke in here. That would be not tomorrow. But look, as we go into later Wednesday and Thursday, there's kind of a push maybe from southern Oregon coming up towards us. So maybe a little haze in the sky overhead, not at the low level. So that's good news. We don't expect a return of the smoky skies. So 83 should be our high temperature tomorrow afternoon. 7-day forecast then, Pete. Check this out. We got 3 days of real summery temps. Then it's back to this fall type stuff. Low 70s. If we actually get a bunch of showers one of these days, we could stay in the 60s in September. Timbers game, maybe a light shower. We'll see. That's Saturday evening. And in general, like I said, 3 days of summery stuff. Then we got 4 days of more fall type weather.
All right, Mark. Thank you. All in all, looks great. Coming up next on the 6 o'clock news, a farmer has her hands full after her pigs multiply, if you will. Now, animal rescue groups are stepping in to try to save them. You won't believe how many were found at her Kentucky farm. Claims of hazing at work, what one employee says he suffered at the hands of co-workers, and court documents detailing how far they went, outlining several more incidents.
Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialists. A VA loan is a benefit you deserve. Why not use it? Oswego Mortgage makes it easy. Just bring us your discharge papers and let us help you through the process. Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialists. Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialists. A VA loan is a benefit you deserve. Why not use it? Oswego Mortgage makes it easy. Just bring us your discharge papers and let us help you through the process. Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialists.
A farmer in Kentucky got more than she bargained for after she took in about a dozen pigs a few years back. That's because the pigs rapidly multiplied. For Fox 12, J.T. Parker tells us how an animal rescue is now stepping in to help find new homes for the now 500 pigs.
A muddy situation animal rescue groups are trying to clean up. There are more than 500 pigs on this Pendleton County farm. Cotton Branch Farm Animal Sanctuary in South Carolina, who's helping find homes for these pigs, tell us the woman leasing the property took in 15 pigs a few years ago, ultimately resulting in a number they say she couldn't handle.
It multiplies. So when you have 10 pigs who give birth, then they each have 6 to 10 pigs who could now possibly give birth.
Cotton Branch Farm Animal Sanctuary Director Josh Carpenter-Coster says it wasn't until people living nearby saw these pigs roaming free when the local authorities were notified. When he got here, he found many pigs malnourished and several of them pregnant.
If they're not properly vetted, if they're not spayed or neutered, it just continues ballooning until it's out of control. And what we found on multiple cases like this that we've worked is it ends up with animals dying of starvation. It ends up with, horrible illnesses.
Well, the animal rescue has about 6 weeks to help find a home for the pigs, or else they will have to be euthanized by the state. It's not clear if authorities will charge the woman who currently owns the pigs. Coming up next at 6 o'clock on the 6 o'clock news, tenants in one Portland neighborhood are sticking together. After years of living in the same home, they're standing up to the company that purchased their apartments. What they're demanding tonight. Ancient artifacts gone forever following a raging fire. Brazilians devastated after losing some priceless artifacts. A look at the damage next.
You're watching the 6 o'clock news. First, live, local.
Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialist. A VA loan is a benefit you deserve. Why not use it? Oswego Mortgage makes it easy. Just bring us your discharge papers and let us help you through the process. Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialists.
Tonight we have an update on a story Fox 12 has been following for months. Several people who live at Holgate Manor have taken a stand against the new ownership there by refusing to pay rent. They say they're fighting not only for themselves, but for all of those affected by the city's housing crisis. Fox 12's Marja Martinez joins us now with the latest.
Since the new owners bought the property, rent has gone up. Princeton Property Management warned that would happen because of repairs that were needed for the decades-old units, but some tenants are still waiting for that work to be done. We walked through one unit today that had mold and a hole in the ground where the renter says rats enter his apartment. For decades, Holgate Manor in southeast Portland was a sanctuary for the most vulnerable, according to one housing activist. The elderly, disabled, and many immigrants could live here for a reasonable price. But in February, new ownership announced in a letter there would be changes.
It basically said we're going to be doing remodeling and there will be changes here and some people will have to move.
Anthony Bensavango with Portland Tenants United says Princeton Property Management offered tenants relocation assistance.
They could reapply to move back and sign a lease, which would raise their rent, but they would get a temporary rent discount.
And while some chose to leave, a few stood their ground, fearing finding new housing at a comparable price would be too difficult. He says those who stayed had their rent increased by nearly 10%, and now they're fighting back because although rent is up, their homes are still in bad shape.
It's right there on the corner there.
Mold grows on the walls of Sean Penn's bedroom, and he says rats sneak into his kitchen through a hole in the ground. He's lived in Holgate for 14 years with his wife, 2 kids, and their in-laws. Theirs is one of 11 families partaking in a rent strike for the 2nd month in a row.
What makes you want to stay here despite those problems?
Yeah, it's hard for us to move, you know. We're making, you know, minimum wage for our work. We don't have enough money to, you know,
pick up and leave.
Yeah, pick up and leave.
He wants what other strikers want, for Princeton to rescind its 9.9% rent increase. Until it does, instead of paying rent, they'll deposit a check for the same amount into an escrow account. We reached out to the property owner for comment but did not hear back. Of course, this is a story that we're going to be following very closely, and we'll bring you the latest updates here and also at KPTV.com. In Southeast Portland, Marja Martinez, Fox 12 Oregon.
A Portland City employee is now suing the city, claiming he was hazed and severely harassed by coworkers at Peabot. The lawsuit claims on one occasion he was locked in a cage, bound with duct tape and zip ties. Fox 12's Brenna Kelly is following the story. And Brenna, what can you tell us?
Well, Pete, according to court documents, Peabot had a history of hazing its new employees. This lawsuit that was filed right on Friday stems from a case in 2016. Peabot employee Adam Rollins is suing the city, claiming in court documents over 2 months in 2016, his coworkers repeatedly harassed him. The lawsuit says the city turned a blind eye towards the hazing and even, quote, endorsed the behavior. Rollins says he was name-called daily and would frequently be shot with metal screws and hard candy through an air compressor while he was shirtless, causing bruises and blisters. Rollins also claims he was locked in a cage in a dark city shed and left alone with his legs and arms bound by zip ties and duct tape. The lawsuit goes on to say he was also punched by other employees in a city truck, once locked in another city vehicle, and repeatedly pushed and body slammed. He claims he endured depression, humiliation, and sleeplessness. He's suing for $250,000 to be amended before a trial. Now, documents specifically named Jerry Munson and James Pope as the ones who hazed Rollins or oversaw it. Also, Supervisor Scott Weaver, who the lawsuit claims knew the behavior was ongoing and failed to take any action to stop it. You may remember last year, the Willamette Week published an article claiming the manager of a sewer lines crew hazed new workers by shooting things at them with a compressor gun, binding them with duct tape, and making them pick up food off the floor. The city launched an investigation shortly after. I did reach out to the city to ask for comment and also find out whether Rollins or his coworkers still work for Peabot. The city's attorney did not immediately respond, and the spokesperson for Peabot told me they don't comment on pending litigation. Additionally, I contacted Rollins' attorney, who is not available today. Live in studio tonight, Brenna Kelly, Fox 12 Oregon.
State troopers are asking for witnesses to come forward after a crash near Madras where a car burst into flames. OSP says at about 5:15 last night, a driver in an orange Subaru was cut off by a late model dark sedan on Highway 97. They say the driver in the Subaru was forced to swerve and brake hard to avoid crashing. Instead, it went through a fence and caught fire in a field. The driver had to be taken to an area hospital after suffering injuries. Now troopers are looking for witnesses who may have seen the fiery crash. If you have any information, call Oregon State Police. An early morning house fire in Scappoose injured 2 people and killed 2 dogs. Take a look at these pictures. You can see just how much damage was done to the home. A woman was taken to the hospital, but it's unclear how badly she was hurt. Firefighters say a second person did not want to go to the hospital against the advice of paramedics. Firefighters say 2 dogs were later found dead inside the home. No word yet on what sparked the fire. Time now for our forecast. And, technically, I know as we take a live look outside, it's not officially fall yet. It's still summer. But, when it's Labor Day, it's
September.
Tomorrow is like the first day of fall, it seems,
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah.
Especially if the kids go back to school and it's cloudy the same day. Then it's like, oh, it's here. That's how it felt last Monday when a lot of my kids went back to school. It was kind of drippy and gray. So meteorological summer is based on the weather. We consider it the 3 warmest months for most of the northern hemisphere. That's June, July, and August. So we consider that as just ended. Now, astronomically, it's based on the sun position. That's when the sun is at its highest point in the sky. That's when summer begins, and that ends 3 months later. So that's in late September. That's what you see on your calendar. That's kind of the traditional end of summer there. All right, so how did we do? I think it was a scorcher. Look at June, July, August, all 3 months well above average, especially July. That was a scorcher. So summer as a whole, it just bumped out last summer as the second hottest on record here in Portland. But you know what? We didn't break a single new daily record high temperature because it was just, I'm doing a blog post on this. It'll be out in an hour or so, but it was just consistently warm to hot the entire summer. We didn't have anything too extreme. I think we hit 100 once. And this continues a string. Pete, we have had 5 consecutive warm to hot summers. We haven't had a cool summer where, people complain and say, it's kind of cool out there since 2011, and we've never had, I look back through the weather records, about 100 years, we've never had a period of 5 consecutive hot summers here in Western Oregon. So, yeah, clearly our climate is slowly warming. This might be partly cyclical, too, which means it would have happened whether our climate was, in general, warming up. But either way, we'll hope for maybe a more reasonable summer in 2019. Pete?
All right, Mark, thank you. It's a story we followed closely ever since the first devastating flames broke out. The Eagle Creek fire that burned so much and affected so many. The flames erupted 1 year ago yesterday. Take a look at just how much land was destroyed. Fox 12's Kendra Kent takes a look back at the massive fire and the impact it's had 1 year later.
It was the fire that both horrified and captivated Oregon.
You get a sense of awe in the power and destruction. That one little thing, that little spark that started the fires.
Flames that burned through more than 48,000 acres in the treasured Columbia River Gorge. A few homes damaged or destroyed. I-84 eastbound closed for weeks, and some beloved hiking trails still closed today. In the end, a teenager would be found guilty of sparking the inferno with a firework and ordered to pay more than $36 million in restitution. Now, exactly a year later, the reminder is stark, and for some, the wound's still fresh.
It feels like it was yesterday.
Anytime I see smoke in the area, my chest starts to tighten up a little bit, and I get a little bit of that post-traumatic, like, oh God, is it coming again?
The small community of Cascade Locks weathered the brunt of the fire. The whole town evacuated, with few left here to dine, shop, or buy gas. Recovering from that has been tough.
I would say that it's been a lot slower. Thank you, folks. Have a nice day.
Forrest Rogers has worked here at Columbia Market for the last 6 years and has lived in the area nearly his entire life. He says popular trail closures are still keeping many tourists away.
And that does make it harder because the summer is our season to make the money for January and February to stay on when it's really not busy.
And over at Cascade Locks Ale House, they're not taking this first anniversary lightly. The restaurant is hosting a community barbecue with a screening of a documentary about the fire. Locals reflecting on what should come out of tragedy.
I would say just really fire education for kids. I think that's probably the most important lesson that can be learned.
And looking forward to the future.
We'll rebuild. It'll be better. And hopefully next year's not nearly as dry.
Reporting in Cascade Locks, Kendra Kent, Fox 12 Oregon.
As school districts rush to make sure their buildings are seismically safe, Fox 12 found that a labor shortage is driving up costs and even causing potential delays. Schools in Oregon and Washington continue to pass big bonds to fund a variety of construction projects like remodels and seismic upgrades. And if you ask Steve Duke, a project manager at Triplet Wellman, he says contractors can't always keep up.
Schedules have been really, really difficult to maintain just because we don't have enough people in the trade, skilled labor, to get the work done that needs to get done throughout the industry. Not just what we do, but electricians, plumbers, drywall contractors, painters, they're all suffering with a shortage of labor.
Now, tonight at 10, we ask administrators at some of the largest districts in our area how the labor shortage is affecting schools and even their budgets. Just into the newsroom, deputies are looking into 2 attempted assaults in Aloha, and the suspect in both cases is on the run, they say. The Washington County Sheriff's Office says it's not sure if the cases are related, but they do say that on Friday morning, an 11-year-old girl was walking to school near Southwest 192nd and Southwest Farmington Road when a man asked her to borrow her phone. When she said no, she says that he tried to grab her by her backpack, but a person nearby yelled at him and he took off. The second case happened Sunday, we're told, at about 10:30 in the evening near Southwest 173rd Avenue and Farmington. This was last night. Detectives say a woman was walking her dog when an unknown man grabbed her from behind. She says she screamed and he ran. Deputies say the man in both cases is about 6 feet tall with tan skin, but was wearing different clothing and was covering his face with a yellow bandana on Friday. Again, technically, they are saying that the case is officially not connected at this time, but they do believe that perhaps this same man was involved in both. If you know anything that might help investigators, give deputies a call. Brazil is in mourning after a massive fire caused irreparable damage to some of the country's rarest and most important ancient artifacts. 20 million artifacts were lost in the fire that broke out yesterday afternoon at Rio de Janeiro's National Museum. Firefighters struggled to contain the raging inferno because hydrants were not working. Officials say the loss is too great to be calculated.
The Central Library, the Botany Department, and so the Herbarium, the collection of dried plants, and the Zoology of Vertebrates collections. All the rest was turned into ashes completely.
Yeah, it's just a tragic situation. Authorities have not yet determined what caused the fire. We can tell you that the 200-year-old museum was once home to the Portuguese royal family. It was in desperate need of repair and modernization. Coming up on the 6 o'clock news, a Labor Day race honoring the tragic death of a young boy, how his family is turning his love for running into a fundraiser to help first responders dealing with mental health issues.
Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialist. A VA loan is a benefit you deserve. Why not use it? Oswego Mortgage makes it easy. Just bring us your discharge papers and let us help you through the process. Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialists. Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialists. A VA loan is a benefit you deserve. Why not use it? Oswego Mortgage makes it easy. Just bring us your discharge papers and let us help you through the process. Oswego Mortgage, Oregon's local VA home loan specialists.
A boy who was killed at the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing was honored on this Labor Day. The family of 8-year-old Martin Richard held a race for first responders in his name. Dubbed the MR8K, the race was 5 miles long. It was billed as a run for gratitude. It also raises money for first responders who sacrifice their time every day and their lives in many cases to protect other lives.
Well, first of all, I give the Richard family tremendous credit for constantly finding a way to make something really good happen out of something really terrible. And this 8K, as Martin was 8 years old, is just another example of that.
Proceeds go to a LEADER program. It was founded just after the bombings. The program offers help to police, fire personnel, and other agencies who have officers dealing with post-traumatic stress, depression, and other issues. In tonight's Health Watch, after last year's bad flu season, doctors are advising parents to take their children for flu shots as soon as it becomes available. The American Academy of Pediatrics is recommending all children who are 6 months of age and older receive a flu shot. A policy statement was published online today in the journal Pediatrics. One doctor says being immunized reduces the risk of a child being hospitalized. The CDC says last year's flu season was one of the worst on record. 179 children died of flu-related causes. The CDC says 80% of the children who died had not had a flu shot. Now is the time to start looking for cheap flights for the most popular holiday in the United States, Thanksgiving. According to Google's new date trends, airfares will likely go up 75 days before departure. That's regardless of the destination. And once again, 35 days before your flight. In fact, they say if you wait to book your trip until October, you'll likely see a 95% price increase, 95%. November, Google says last-minute travelers can expect another 30% increase. Experts recommend flying on the actual day of Thanksgiving for cheaper flights and shorter lines, and they say don't fly back the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh, no! Dixon's no good. Dixon's in the middle of that. Car upside down and Andretti, I think.
Well, the Portland Grand Prix got off to a rough start over the weekend. A spinning car touched off a 4-car crash. It flipped driver Marco Andretti, but no one was hurt. Now, this was the first time Portland has hosted IndyCar racing in more than a decade, and it brought a lot of people and business into the city for Labor Day weekend. The city estimated the races would bring the local economy between $12 and $15 million. It's too soon to tell if that figure was reached, but race organizers said staff alone booked 5,000 overnight stays in Portland area hotels this week. Vendors set up at the races were also surprised by the turnout, which boosted sales.
The turnout has been unbelievable. We were actually, kind of unsure how many race fans there were going to be in this region, and we are pleasantly surprised.
Fans won't have to wait as long for the races to come back this time. Organizers signed a 3-year contract, meaning they'll be back in 2019 and 2020. Turning to our weather now, let's take a live look at the Telecom Crossing on a beautiful Labor Day evening. Mark joins us once again. Hi, Mark.
Nice, huh?
Yeah, gorgeous.
Look at Timberline. Well, this isn't Timberline. This is from our ski bowl cam, but not a whole lot of snow left.
Yeah.
It's always September is when it looks really rough. I remember in 2015 when we had a real dry spring, not much snow. We had even far less snowpack that winter before, and I remember there was just a patch or two left up there. But kind of pretty, I guess, in a bare volcanic sort of way. Don't worry, the snow always comes back. I've seen some low snow years, but I've never seen a year where it doesn't get all covered by snow at some point before Christmas. So it's 59 up there at Ski Bowl. It'll be warmer at Ski Bowl tomorrow. Temperatures up around 70 degrees. Take a look at the temps now. You see we're right around 80 here in the valleys. Got temperature 70s to around 80 east side. The general trend is uphill for the temperatures the next 2 days, then we go downhill again. Typically in September, even when we have the real summery weather, two things go on. One is you have much longer nights than in July and August, so it gets cooler at night than we would have during the warm weather in July or August. And the other thing that goes on is, what's the other thing? Oh yeah, that's right. The other thing that happens is we don't have long periods of hot weather. It'll get real warm and then it'll go back down a few days later. All right, so tonight about 48 in Salem, same thing in Eugene. We got lots of 40s east of the Cascades, so no need for air conditioning, that's for sure. Just open the windows in your house, will cool off easily. Now, cloud rain forecast. I just went through the next 3 days here. We get to Thursday evening, still nothing going on, although the marine layer is starting to gather along the coastline. This is one of our more dependable models. This is the Euro model, which is the #1 global model for forecasting. So we'll show you what it thinks will happen. It thinks Thursday there's a weather system offshore, and basically the kind of strengthening early fall type jet stream starts getting a bit closer over the weekend. So that's Thursday evening. Look at Friday. It says by 3 p.m. Friday evening, we're sitting here talking news with Pete, and it's showering out there. That's the plan there on that model. And it says maybe a leftover shower on Saturday. Quite a bit of rain to the north during this whole weekend up from the northwest part of Washington up through British Columbia. Boy, this would almost put out those fires up there if that's the case. It also says showers return again Sunday afternoon or Sunday night or Monday as this whole system moves on through. So we're watching that pretty closely for our next chance for showers. This is the wettest model by far. Again, it's pretty dependable, but it's not always right. It says, hey, up to a 1/4 inch of rain here through Sunday afternoon, 2 or 3 inches of rain on the Washington coast, so that actually would be good up there. All right, so short term, we do know it'll be nice the next few days. Mostly sunny at the coastline, low 70s on the north coast. Here in the valleys, noticeably warmer, 80 to 85 in the valleys, breezy north wind. In the gorge, a breezy east wind, 82 at Cascade Locks, 84 at Hood River. On Mount Hood, definitely warmer by about 10 degrees, 70 at Government Camp. And then east of the Cascades, sunny all day. Most of you getting into the 80s, 86 at Burns. And then your 7-day forecast here. We stay in the 80s through Thursday, but not really hot. We might be close to 90. That could happen on Wednesday. We'll see. Again, notice the low in the mid-50s. It'd be 10 degrees warmer if it was July or August. And then Pete, I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday, back to more fall-type weather with low 70s and showers.
Yeah, fall just around the corner. All right, Mark, thank you very much. Up next on the 6 o'clock news, going on a lam. Why a New York church is hiring some new landscapers to keep their lawn tidy.